Hello, here we are on Reforged once again. This time I'm not so much going to be showcasing everything, I'm just going to be talking about what's changed, and this video will be going over briefly basically everything as far as I know that has changed. So firstly, starting out with the interface and all of that, replays have been added to this version of Reforged. They are quite a new feature, so they're still quite bugged. As far as I know, I wasn't actually able to open a replay, but you can see here, this is where you access the replays, and they aren't really in order quite, and you do have to download the replay before actually playing it, as you see here with this Predator replay. If it ever stops loading, it becomes that play button. But that is where you access replays from the battle results screen, so that is a nice addition. Hopefully they'll continue to work on that, because as far as I know right now they're still a pretty early feature. So profile stats have also changed. In your profile you'll be able to go down and see your stats in each battle type, so random and ranked battles, and you can see here Winrate is shown here. It's not as prominent, of course, on this screen instead of the main screen over here, but the entire goal that Wargaming was trying to achieve was removing the toxicity based around the win rate showing in game. So they've moved it here where it's less prominent, but you can still see your win rate and other players' win rate from battle results. Next, they have also changed training rooms, which is pretty nice, but definitely they still need some work. You can enter battle with only one player in the room now. As you can see here, I have the option to start battle, which is very nice. It's great for just testing out things in general in Reforged. Even if you're not actually playing against players, you can still do various things in a training battle. However, there are still issues with this interface. For example, there's no tank filter screen, and there's no easy way back to, well, if I change the tank in the garage here, you'll see I have the 114 SP2. Hold on, that wasn't supposed to work. Oh, they fixed it. That's very nice. Okay, so if you change a tank in the garage now, it does actually change it in training rooms. This wasn't the case last week when we had the earlier test build, but it is now, which is a very nice feature for them to have added. However, of course, there's still an issue that you can't actually filter the tanks. And if I wanted to find tier 7, for example, I'd have to scroll a long way away. But yeah, training rooms are being worked on still, which is a good thing. Another thing for training rooms is spectating. That is now added, and you can spectate in training rooms. One more thing they have added is platoon interface and platooning, so you can actually platoon with other players on Reforged. So you can see here I've created a platoon. I can invite people from the various areas of the game where you can find platoon players. However, you do need, of course, another platoon in battle. It won't let you go in if it's just bots on the enemy team. Next, in-game chat has been added, another interface thing which is pretty nice. You can see here I can go to find other players and message them. This wasn't a thing until yesterday when they updated the client, but now in-game chat is a thing in the garage, not in battle yet. We'll have to see if that does come back. Another thing that's changed, which is nice, is red-green interface that was mentioned in Wargaming's videos. So the battles aren't this cyan-blue kind of colour for allies and red-orange for enemies. It is now red for enemies and green for allies. Finally, tiers are also being changed. So here you can see they go from tier 1 to 7, but with the next updates for Reforged it will be changed back to tiers 4 till 10. So that is also a nice feature which a lot of players wanted to come back. So tiers 1 through 3 in Vintage, tiers 4 through 10 will remain as 4 through 10, not 1 through 7. Next, you would have seen, as I just showed just now, the tech tree interface has sort of returned. This isn't actually tech trees, this is sets, because sets in terms of actual gameplay and a system are actually outright better than tech trees. However, tech trees are much easier to look at. They're much easier to sort of understand when you see it like this. And this interface is pretty decent, however there are still issues with it. So if you take off premium and collector tanks, you can see it is quite clean and nice. However, let's scroll down to the Soviet tech tree and add in premium and collector tanks. You'll see sort of the issue of this. It's a very big screen and you have to kind of go out of your way to find certain tanks. Like, look at this Object 268 version 4 floating in the middle of nowhere because its set is mainly Chinese tank destroyers. You'll see that here, all Chinese tank destroyers, and then there's the version 4. So when you do look at this tank in the tech tree interface, it is out in the middle of nowhere. So definitely still a bit of an issue with that. However, at least this interface is back and we can actually see the more linear view, which was better on the eyes compared to the previous sort of set interface. Another thing they have added, before we had this collection page, which is like kind of useless. Who knows what all these icons are, but now they do have all tanks, which is kind of like an encyclopedia for you to find the tanks that you don't own. Now I do own a lot of tanks, so they aren't grayed out, but you can see here Rheinmetall Panzerwagen, HWK-12, Leichter Kampfpanzer 70K. Those are all tanks I don't own, and you can see that they are grayed out. You can also change sort of how it looks by adding the flag to the back, which you can see here now, makes the tanks I don't own even more obvious. Here the MBTV and AE Phase 1 as well. The issue with this screen is that you cannot filter by tiers, which is a bit annoying. You can filter by nation, you can filter by type of gun and gameplay type, you can filter by class. You cannot filter by tier though. So yes, it shows on the bottom all the tiers, but if I just wanted to see all tier 9 heavy tanks, for example, there's no way to do that. So something for them to still add probably. Next, commanders. One of the big topics of the first test. You can see here Duncan has changed looks. So they have gone with the more military look for Duncan and Olivia, who have both got new updated visuals. All the other commanders haven't changed because Cole was fine, Lisa was fine. Basically, these are military soldier looking people. Captain is the captain. Kai though, who knows if he'll be changed in the future. Doesn't seem like too much thought has gone to him. But Duncan and Olivia have changed visuals. You'll also see something else new, show commander in the base. By default, when you log into the game, when you download the game, that is off. So the commander doesn't show in your garage. But if you do flip that to be on, then you can see the commander will display next to your tank. In the garage only, of course, they don't show in battle either way. Something else for commanders is daily missions, which is pretty nice. It means you can earn extra XP to upgrade your commanders by doing tasks with them. So, of course, commanders need to be leveled up to unlock better skills and stats. So these missions do help you to achieve that. So if you put Kai on one of your tanks and you destroyed 2 enemy tank destroyers using Kai, you'd get 75,000 commander XP. So these new missions, which are daily, are pretty nice. At the moment though, you can't actually claim them, so that's a bit bugged. But new missions are nice. Something else, of course, which a lot of players were kind of asking for, which is definitely a nice addition back to the game, is National Crew. You can see here, you can change from Commander to National Crew, but National Crew is the default, I believe. You can't change this in mid-battle though, so if you go into battle with Commander Crew voices on and you want to change to National Crew, you have to wait till you get back out. Next, the last thing in regards to commanders and all that, I'll talk about equipment, which has also changed. So before we had sort of the old equipment, pre-equipment changes type of equipment, but now it has been changed back. So gun rammer is 5%, calibrated shells still gives the same buffs, same for most of these other equipment pieces. The only ones that have changed significantly are this combat control unit, which gives much better traverse than the first Ultratest. and extra crew skills, which is the same as the first Ultratest. Power drink also is the other mini food type consumable provision, and then protective kit, failsafe modules, and defense system have all been changed a bit. Turbocharged engine as well, also slightly changed, giving a bit more top speed and engine power. But other than this, mostly equipment hasn't changed too much from the current Blitz, of course. Next, some things. PC auto aim before, that was very bad. If any of you played on PC on Reforged, you would know that the gun would be the thing that enemies, well, that your auto aim would train on. So if you're aiming at this 5A from the front, for example, the auto aim would train on the very front of the turret. So it wouldn't be center of the hull like it is in current Blitz, but it would train to arguably the strongest point of the tank, which is the front of the turret. So that has been reverted now, which is very nice. It makes auto aim on PC actually usable again. Other control things they've changed are mobile, touch sensitivity customization for, I believe, in the scope and out of it, and I believe for the lookout area. I don't play mobile, I haven't tested this out, but I was told, I believe that these things have been added. Now, one thing they did mention was traverse speed buffs for tanks turning. Now, when I watched the video and they said this, I was like, oh, that's not true, because we've been playing Reforged for the past 2 or 3 weeks and tanks definitely do still turn slower than current Blitz. But yesterday there was an update to Reforged and tanks do now turn faster, the same level as current Blitz. So tank traverse has been changed back to be, well, roughly the same as the current game, which is very nice considering before tanks turned very slowly in Reforged. Now finally I'm going to talk about economic changes. So you will see here there are only 2 currencies at the top of the screen, credits and gold, well, silver and gold. Now steel has been completely removed. There is no steel for buying consumables. As you will see here, it costs credits now, not steel. So that's a good change, especially as steel was just an extra currency which really wasn't needed. In terms of consumables themselves, they do cost the same as the current game now, I believe. That's what we were told, so that's also a nice change, especially as you do make more credits in ranked and in random battles now. In terms of the battles themselves, for ranked, the amount of XP earned has been buffed, so you earn more XP in ranked than Ultratest 1. The amount of credits has been buffed for random battles, so you earn more credits in random battles for Ultratest 2. And you'll probably remember from Ultratest 1 that they've tried to make ranked the main mode now, so having more credit earning ability in random is nice, as a lot of players will still want to be playing random. And finally, the cost of tanks, the cost of ammo, consumables and equipment have been changed back to be the same as the current game. So if I go to buy the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen, first the HWK-12, you'll see that the cost is the same as current Blitz. If I can just boost it up to the level I need it to be, then we can see. So here, 50% off the tier 9, the usual cost without certificate is 3.5 million. So if I do go to buy that tank, I believe that's the same cost as in current Blitz. And for the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen, we all know tier 10s cost 6.1 million, so that's the same as current Blitz, which is nice. And that is it, I believe, for all the new features in the game, at least off the top of my head, the ones I can remember and have written down. I'll very quickly talk about a few of the things which there are still issues on, or at least I've found issues on. One of them being in the training room. Of course, not having a filter is very inconvenient. I've already mentioned that, but you can see in the garage they have already changed the tank filter, so it's much more easy to access the tanks you want to find, unlike the first Ultratest. So you can see here behind the tanks there are flags and all that. That's been something that's changed, and you'll see that using this selector you can change sort of how that looks. But they don't have such a filter in the training rooms, which would be really helpful instead of having to go back to the garage the whole time just to find a tank. Next, in terms of optimization, of course, that's the main goal they have to work on. If the game's not optimized, none of these other features matter. It wouldn't matter if the commanders looks like Fortnite characters or whatnot, because players wouldn't be able to play the game if it's not optimized. So optimization is still their main goal. In fact, it's the largest reason for this second Ultratest, to get sort of the data from all the many players with different devices to help improve the optimization. But it's better than Ultratest 1, still not great though. I'm currently playing on a laptop and I do have to play on fairly low graphic settings if I play on full screen, which it's a big downgrade compared to current Blitz. And of course, for some phones you'll be able to run fairly good graphics, but for lower end older phones you will still need to run low graphics. Next, another issue is that the graphics are tied to each other. So unlike in current Blitz, you'll see here draw distance, shadow quality, effects quality, details quality, and then render resolution. All of these are very general graphic settings. In the current Blitz, you can customize it, so you can choose tank graphics, terrain graphics, suspension effects, and other sort of more sectioned off sections of graphics. Now it's all tied together, so if you have crap graphics on your tank, then your map graphics are going to be crap as well. It's quite annoying considering on the lower end, medium end of graphics, your tank's wheels don't even turn. If you have effects quality turned to low, then your tracks don't even move, and you can't separate that from other effects qualities and graphics, which is quite annoying. Next, one thing that has been mentioned is the set player level. Well, player level with the new tank sets that you do unlock. So I'm going to scroll down to the very beginning of tank sets in the player level, and we'll see sort of what they offer. So when a new player enters the game, this is sort of where they'll be starting at player level 1. The new sets you get are these ones in the first level 5, which are decent sets for new players as they are medium and heavy sets, except for Seek, Strike, Destroy, which is the Hellcat set. Paper tank destroyers with turrets. Maybe better to introduce such a set to players a bit later on, not at set level 5, well, player level 5. Next, you get Raising Phalanx, which is the set with the paper tank destroyers from Germany, well, mostly paper, the Kanonen Jagdpanzer, Jagdpanther 2, the Jagdpanzer 4, E25, Basotto. Those tanks, again, maybe not the best to give to new players at player level 8. And then there is Burning Tracks, which actually counts as an expert set, and that is at player level 11, which, you know, giving players a set of auto-loading light tanks at player level 11 is not the best. For one, light tanks are quite hard to play, and then add in the autoloader system, which is just another step in gameplay and skill. Why are they giving players such advanced sets at player level 11? It just doesn't make too much sense. Hopefully that's all placeholder. One more thing that they have to work on still is the transfer hub. In terms of the actual what you get for all your elite XP and crew XP, it isn't really a fair exchange rate. So you'll see here 92 million crew XP converted into 9 million commander XP. Not the best rate. It does mean I can upgrade all the base commanders to level 20, which is their max level now, but then I do have to grind new future commanders. So yes, it's not terrible, as in I can currently upgrade all the commanders that are available, but before I would have had all the skills, and now I do have to go and grind new commanders when they do come to the game. So maybe Wargaming can still work on that a little bit, be a bit more generous with the amount of XP we get. And then finally, the camo menu is still not great. They say this is almost done, but frankly it's terrible. So if you want to find a camo, you still have to scroll for absolutely ages to go down here and try and find the camo you want. There's no filter for rarity of camo, there's no colors of camo, and then the icons of the camos do just take up a lot more space, and thus, well, it takes longer to find a camo. So the camo menu definitely still needs working on, and on top of this it also takes absolutely ages to change a camo. For example, if I want to put on a camo from this style, let's say Spooky Web for example, I've just had to click twice there. And then if I go to winter and I want to put on that same camo once again, I have to go down, find the style, go into the style, click the camo, go back, and then do it all again for desert maps, which I'm not going to do because of course while recording this it is a bit laggy. But yeah, not quite so ideal for the camo menu. But that is it for a quick overview of all the features in Reforged. I'm going to do more detailed breakdowns, still fairly short videos for all the features individually, but that is just overall for all the new stuff in Reforged. Gameplay hasn't changed too much, so that's why I'm not showing it here. But yeah, that is it for this video, for the general overview of Reforged. Thanks for watching. Go check it out yourself, because yeah, Wargaming does want to know your opinion, and you can see that they have changed a fair bit based on your opinions from the first Ultratest. But yeah, thanks for watching.